To live life, you need problems. If you get everything you want the minute you want it, what's the point of living?
Imagine waking up one day with no worries, no obstacles, and no challenges to overcome. Sounds like paradise, right? But how long before that paradise starts to seem, well, empty? This is the question Jake the dog quietly asks with every word, every goofy adventure, and every slice of bacon pancake wisdom. World obsessed with control, perfection, and finding shortcuts to happiness, Jake dares to embrace the chaos. He doesn't just roll with the punches, he dances with them, turning life's curveballs into the ultimate playground. But don't be fooled by his chill attitude. Beneath that stretchy, shape-shifting exterior is a philosophy that cuts straight to the heart of what it means to live fully. So what is Jake's secret, and why does he seem to thrive where others crumble, and what can we learn from a magical dog who laughs in the face of life's messiest moments? We learn that in this first lesson, when Jake got real.
You're getting all hung up on imaginary problems. You gotta focus on what's real, man.
Finn can't stop thinking about the Flame Princess, worrying that it's over between them because she didn't laugh at one of his jokes. But Finn isn't just worrying about the future, he's worrying about something that might not even be a big deal. So instead of enjoying his current adventures and bond, Finn lets his fear of the unknown consume him. Jake, on the other hand, calmly accepts the premonition as part of life and focuses on the present moment. His time with Finn, the adventure at hand, and the reality they can influence. He reminds Finn that obsessing over imaginary scenarios is pointless and takes away from the experiences that truly matter. And the way Jake makes this clear is awesome. He gets his favorite cup and throws it out of the window.
Now it's gone forever, so it's not real, and I don't care about it anymore.
Jake is literally and figuratively throwing something he cares a lot about out of the window. Even though he gets it back later with a fishing rod, but that's besides the point. The cup symbolizes worries about life what-ifs, and throwing those worries out will allow you to see what there is in the present. Just think about how often you stress about things that haven't even happened yet. Whether it's work, relationships, some big decisions, we're all guilty of getting caught up in our own minds. What if I fail? What if something goes wrong? What if they don't like me? All these imaginary problems, they can just paralyze us, so just forget about it. The reality is, most of these concerns, they never come true. And even if they do, we can't just predict them. We can't prevent them. So instead, focusing on the present moment and the things within our control and the relationships that bring us joy can help us live some more fulfilling lives. Jake teaches us that worrying won't solve these imaginary problems. It only keeps us from enjoying what's real, right? So don't do it.
Dude, sucking at something is the first step towards being sorta good at something.
In his Hero, Season 1, Episode 25, Finn idolizes Billy, a retired hero. Inspired by Billy's legacy, Finn wants to live up to the same ideals but feels inadequate when he compares himself to his hero. But Jake reminds Finn that no one starts off perfect, and failing or being bad at something is the first step to growth. This lesson also plays out repeatedly in Finn's journey, whether it's learning to sword fight, understanding relationships, or just becoming a better hero. He doesn't get it always right at first, but each failure brings a new opportunity to improve and grow stronger. Finn learns to embrace the process of growth rather than expecting immediate success. Instead of being discouraged by his shortcomings, he comes to understand that persistence and effort is what ultimately leads to mastery. Which applies to anyone who has ever been afraid to try something new, honestly. Whether it's learning a new skill, starting a new job, or just pursuing a hobby, mediocrity and failure is the part of the process. Being bad at something doesn't mean you should quit. Never. It's just the first step towards improvement, alright? And that should be recognized. What if you tried something new and you never sucked at it? Well, you're either very talented, perhaps, or oblivious to the fact that there's still room for improvement. If you fail to see your own shortcomings, you will never improve on them. There's another quote from Abraham Lincoln this reminds me of. You cannot fail unless you quit. Which is kind of like gambling. You can either win or you can just give up. Not that I'm promoting gambling though, but there is no losing, right? And whether you win or quit doesn't give any meaning to life. Without lesson 3.
You know what, bro? I'm glad you're here. Because dying together sucks a little less than dying alone.
In President Porpoise is missing, Finn and Jake end up in a perilous underwater situation where they're moments away from drowning. But despite the grim circumstances, Jake delivers this line to Finn, turning a life-or-death scenario into a heartfelt moment of humor and camaraderie. Even in the face of dire circumstances, the presence of a friend can bring comfort and make fear more manageable. Jake's statement underscores the value of companionship, even when things look bleak. It's a lesson that teaches us that facing challenges with others by our side can ease the emotional weight. Hard times can feel less lonely and less overwhelming when shared with someone we trust and care about. It's a reminder that we should lean on to our relationships during struggles and to be there for others as well, even if we can't change the outcome. You got your friends, but there's one thing you can influence, which is how you feel about things, just like in lesson 4.
Girls is like horses. When you fall down, it's important that you get right back on again, on a different horse.
In Dungeon Train, Jake offers this piece of advice to Finn when he notices Finn is still struggling with the aftermath of his breakup with Flame Princess. Jake uses his unique and quirky metaphor to tell Finn that if something doesn't work out, it's okay to move on and try again. The different horse represents the idea of not being afraid to embrace new opportunities after a setback. It also represents a different girl to quote-unquote hop on. In the episode, Finn starts to realize that staying stuck in past failures, whether relationships or some other challenges, doesn't help him grow. This is symbolized through the Dungeon Train as well. The infinite nature of the Dungeon Train means there's no end goal or growth, just endless repetitive action. Finn comes to terms with the fact that he needs to move forward in life rather than stay stuck in the same place, even if the staying in the same place feels easier. This lesson is about resilience in the face of emotional setbacks. It's a hard one, particularly those involving relationships. Just like falling off a horse, recovering from a disappointment requires us to just get back up and try again. I'll repeat that. Get back up and try again. We often use endless distractions like video games, social media, alcohol, or something. And that is just a way for us to deal with, emotion and challenges, but this is bad. True growth comes when you realize when is the time for you to step off the train and just face what's next. Finn's experience teaches us that even though it's okay sometimes to, do these things, to seek some of the distractions during tough times, but eventually you must move on. You must let it go. You have to move forward, and you have to embrace the unknown. In the end, we need problems in our lives. Yeah, you need problems in your life. If you don't believe me, the next lesson will convince you.
To live life, you need problems.
That's so stupid!
If you get everything you want the minute you want it, what's the point of living?
While Jake's dealing with a small, irritating problem, having a tortilla chip stuck in his teeth, he points out that if life were easy and free of challenges, it will lose its meaning and excitement as well. His philosophy suggests that problems and obstacles drive growth, personal development, as well as resilience. And he's right. And it's simply because the process of overcoming difficulties is what makes life fulfilling and gives it purpose. If everything were handed to us instantly, there would be nothing to strive for or learn from. and life would feel aimless or unsatisfying, I'm sure of it. Essentially, it's about appreciating the journey with all its ups and downs, rather than expecting a smooth, problem-free existence. In broader context, this lesson is about finding value in the struggles and challenges we face, whether small or large. How many times have you wanted everything to go perfectly without any bumps along the way? For me, it was maybe 1 million. And yeah, it's tempting to think if we had like everything we want in our lives, life would be more enjoyable, it would be more easier, right? But here's the catch. If everything was handed to us, what would we learn from it? Would we really appreciate the things we have if we got it without any effort, if there were no challenges at all? It resonates with some story that I heard a long while ago. There was a lawyer sitting in a bar, and the person next to him came and, he told him about some legal trouble he was in. The lawyer gave him advice, and he told him the exact steps he should do in order to solve that. Yet, the person in question didn't do anything with the advice. Why not, you might ask? Well, because the advice didn't represent any value to him. He got it for free, right? If he paid $5,000 for it, he would surely do it. He would act upon it. But because he didn't have to go through pain, it was worthless to him, right? That's how our brain works. Speaking of free, life-changing advice, there's something you don't want to miss in Lesson 6.
The shapes are always changing. Changing is their normal state, like us.
This wisdom comes from Abstract, where Jake examines paintings made by his brother Jermaine. Before this confrontation, Jermaine is very straightforward with Jake. Jermaine tells him that Jake has changed, despite Jake's initial denial and ignorance toward change. Even Jake can't remain stagnant. Jake's more open and honest about his emotions now, and he's getting older, wiser, and even more mature as a result. Still, Jake retains his sense of fun and loving nature, which was something he was scared of losing.
Even if we're not changing on the outside, we're changing on the inside constantly.
And because he was scared of losing that fun and loving nature, he was resistant to change, which he also comes to terms with.
There's some stuff about me that I've been ignoring for a long time. I'm afraid of that stuff.
He confronts the fear of change and the unknown parts of himself he'd rather ignore. But instead of letting that fear consume him, Jake acknowledges that growth is uncomfortable but necessary.
But it's part of who I am. As long as I know the shape of my soul, I'll be all right.
Jake doesn't need everything to stay the same to feel stable. He just needs to stay true to who he is, no matter how much he changes. And if he can change while staying true to his fun and loving nature, that's all fine for him. This lesson hits home for anyone who's ever felt like life is changing in ways they can't control. Maybe you've changed as a person, and maybe you don't like yourself anymore. Maybe life's transitions, graduation, relationships, career shifts, maybe all of that leaves you scared. But hey, as Jake tells us, change is normal. Even if we're not changing on the outside, we're changing on the inside constantly. There's always a part of us growing, learning, or just adapting and evolving. And yeah, the fear of facing those parts we've ignored is real, but acknowledging them helps us to grow into the person we've meant to be. So, when life feels chaotic, hold on to the shape of your soul, the core of who you are. And trust me, you'll be all right. And trust yourself, you will be all right. Change might feel scary, right? It is. But it's also what makes us human, right? And it's good for us. And it's good for you. And like Jake, we can find peace by accepting the process. Alright, we've seen how Jake's wisdom can guide us through life's challenges. But let's not forget, Jake's also the funniest, most laid-back guy in the land of Vu. Sometimes his lessons hit hard because they're wrapped in humor. So let's dive into some of Jake's funniest insights.
Don't you always call sweatpants give up on life pants, Jake?
I do, because peeps need to respect themselves when they leave the house.
Okay, let's face it. Jake's got a point. Whether you're a candy person, a slime, or just a regular human, if you're going outside, Do it with some style, bro. Jake's not saying you need to wear a tuxedo to grab milk, but he is telling us to take pride in how we present ourselves. It's like that feeling when you leave the house in sweatpants and see someone you know. You immediately regret your entire existence. Jake's advice? Avoid the shame spiral. Brush your hair, wear clean clothes, and maybe don't look like you've been living under a bridge. But don't go too far either. Jake wouldn't want you to be one of those fashion peeps who take 2 hours to pick out socks. Just find the balance.
Music is powerful, man. It speaks to a primal pit in our brains.
Jake might look like he's just vibing out, but he understands the true power of music. Whether it's playing his viola, howling along to Baby Finn's lullaby, or just jamming to a funky beat, he knows that music doesn't just hit you in the feels. It taps into something deeper, something primal, which makes a lot of sense. Music can make you cry. It can hype you up for a big day, or just even take you to a time and place you forgot existed. It's like music hacks into the caveman part of your brain that doesn't need words to feel. Jake teaches us to respect the vibes and let music take us where we need to go. Whether you're dancing like a lunatic or just chilling in silence to a sad song, let your primal brain do its thing. And hey, if you're ever stuck in awkward silence, pulling out a guitar or just singing a weird little song, badly or not, will 100% make you the life of the party. Unless you're tone deaf. Then maybe just stick to clapping. But don't be clapping cheeks like it's tier 15.
What about tier 15?
You stay away from that. Do not do tier 15.
The classic tier system. Here, Jake tries to explain the relationship levels to Finn, warning him about the emotional and romantic consequences of diving too deep too fast. And tier 15, that's where things get wild. We've all been there, rushing into something before we're ready. Whether it's relationship, a new job, or just saying yes to a friend's ridiculous weekend plan. Sometimes we don't know what we're signing up for. Jake's advice? Slow down, man. Some tiers are not worth exploring unless you know what you're doing. So next time you're about to say yes to something sketchy, think of Jake. Do you really want to go to tier 15? Because there's no coming back from that.
Bad biscuits make the baker broke, bro.
Jake doesn't just drop wisdom, sometimes he spits pure poetry. And while this line sounds like something you'd hear from a chill philosopher, it's actually about effort. Bad biscuits, whether they're literal biscuits or a rushed, half-baked project, will ruin you. Are you cutting corners? Maybe slacking off? Sending a text you know is a bad idea? Well, congratulations, you've just made a bad biscuit. Jake's telling you that if you're gonna do something, do it right. Otherwise, you'll end up broke and covered in crumbs.
Unattractive people are desperate. You should haggle with them.
Alright, this one is just funny. There's no real lesson in it. I just had to include it. And that's a wrap. Jake the dog might seem like just a laid-back, stretchy dude who loves snacks and naps, but beneath that chill exterior is a wisdom that hits harder than you'd expect. Jake reminds us to enjoy the little things, embrace who we are, and not take life too seriously. Whether it's believing in yourself, finding joy in music, or just living in the moment, he shows us that the answers to life's big questions don't have to be complicated. They just need to feel right. So the next time life throws you a curveball, ask yourself, what would Jake do? Probably eat a sandwich, play some music, and remind you that everything is gonna be okay. And honestly, that's not a bad way to live. Stay stretchy, stay chill, and keep vibing.
Go back there and live that best life.